Now that people have found you, we're going to talk about engaging those donors and potential donors, right? And we talked a little bit about this. I mentioned personas. And so you may not, personas is a little bit more prevalent, I think, in sort of the for-profit marketing kind of sector, but it's super helpful for nonprofits as well. So a persona is basically a detailed way to refine your communication to speak to that audience, right? And you're probably going to have more than one audience. You know, you'll have donors and volunteers, potential employees, you know, benefactors of your work. You'll have different audiences. But personas are a great way and a great tool to help you avoid guesswork, really figure out where your people are online. What are they doing? How do they like to communicate? These can be very simple one page, or they can be, you know, much more complicated. We do some that are, you know, 5, 6, 7, maybe 10 pages even for one persona. And sometimes they're just one page. But basically, the additional things that you really need to have for nonprofit personas are these what they call philanthropic indicators and wealth markers and markers of shared causes. What are the other causes this persona may be involved in? So some examples of specific ones for nonprofits. These are some ones we did for ANID, which is a nonprofit dealing with eating disorders. And so they actually have a client, a volunteer, and a donor persona. And you can see as these examples, they're just sort of like a fictitious person we've created that is an ideal candidate for these different roles, right? An ideal donor or ideal, you know, volunteer. So, and these may evolve over time too. They're definitely going to evolve. So keep that in mind too. So content, we're going to talk a little bit about content now. And Shauna is going to talk about kind of some specific things around what they're doing too with website, email, and especially virtual events. But the content you put online is an awesome way to showcase your uniqueness, right? Stand out from the crowd. Like as we talked about giving, it's kind of changing. More and more of this vetting of organizations happens online. So content can be web pages, blogs, ebooks, your email stuff, social things, photography, video, all these kinds of things. Virtual events now is a big thing. So use your content as a way to do authentic storytelling and help donors see the value of your organization, right? And feel really good about giving. And a big thing content can do is really help reinforce your success, demonstrate leadership too, in sort of the area you're working in, right? And here's an example. This is something we did for Hired, which was a virtual event. I'm using this as an example of content because I think the way the ask was structured and the way their content was structured for this virtual event was really effective. So they had groups of employees talking about what the organization means to them. They had benefactors of the work, people who are participate in their variety of their programs, talking about how much the programs have changed their lives. Then they actually had industry experts too, who deal with employment and other types of issues, and people from their employee partners. And this whole group of people is a very deep storytelling, deep development thing. And it had a multifaceted ask where you have sort of the ask spread out between industry experts, participants, you know, all these different people. It was super amazing. So website considerations. We had recently done a website project with Shauna and Emma Norton. And so I'll let her too chime in on, you know, how that went and how you did your sort of website redesign and structure that for you know, this next generation of donors.
So I had this challenge when I came in. I started this job almost exactly 3 years ago at this point, and we came in, and the very first thing I noticed was that the website really needed some help. You know, we had this great gift. A volunteer essentially had created this website for us at a very low cost. I think we were we were paying him $250 a year to do everything for us, which was, so it was a very low cost. The issue was it was a Dreamweaver. I don't know if anybody even knows what Dreamweaver is anymore, but a Dreamweaver site. So you weren't able to update yourself. And this, this great volunteer had gone on to start a totally different business. So he was not doing, websites anymore. And so he was trying to fit us into, a whole new business that he was running. And so it was very difficult to, one of the big things that I think is the most important is increasing your visibility. And, how do you do that if you don't have a great website? It's really difficult because everything runs off of that. And so at the same time, getting a whole new website is also expensive. And so, so we had to figure out, how do we really invest in this? It's a great investment. And we were able to actually get a grant from one of our foundation partners. And, so I think that's something that's really important for people to think about, that, your foundation partners will invest in this because they understand this is a huge component for you as an organization. So when, so the biggest thing we needed a better website that engaged people, that, gave people calls to action, and we needed one that we could control ourselves, that we could, so we're not waiting 2 months to update some, event that's coming up. And so it's been amazing. We, worked with Arcstone and with our designer, and really, as Nick was talking about, sort of creating this, we thought about who is our donors, and we do have, a larger kind of older donor base who really we want to continue to nurture. But at the same time, we really need to capture new donors to be able to grow. And we've really kind of doubled our operational budget and the number of people we served over the last 3 years as well. We serve women and families that are homeless. And, unfortunately, that's just growing. That need is growing, especially around the needs of mental health. And so, Emma Norton, we went from serving just 50 women at our downtown site and 13 families at our townhome in Maplewood, and thinking about how can we grow. And we grew through our scattered site housing program, working with landlords in the community. So, landlords was another important audience, so that they, as they learned about Emma Norton, they can go to our website and see, oh yeah, this is a good organization to work with. We're willing to work with them and have clients come. So our website plays a part, not just in our donors, but also in how we interact with our partners in the community as well. So as we were developing this website, we really wanted it for people to, as soon as they come in, to be able to experience a little bit about what we do. So you see at the very beginning, you see this, this gorgeous child who, so people know right away that, yeah, we're serving children and we're helping improve children's lives, and we're serving families. And if you look at other pages, we have, single women and others that we're serving. And so visually, I think that really helps right away. The other thing is that we do use real photos. Oops, of course. We use real photos of our actual clients. I think, versus stock photos, I think it makes a difference. It just feels, I've always been, I guess, a real proponent of using real photos when you can. So we work with Scott Strebel, who's a great photographer. So shout out to Scott, but those are all his great photos. And then the other thing was really, if you see on our Fund a Need, so instead of just having a donate button everywhere, we ended up adding this Fund a Need, and that sort of came out of, out of our events, where you really connect, their donation with an actual thing that it's going to be helping someone. And it doesn't, we don't put limits on it so that money has to go to that, but it's an example of, $25 can help provide supplies for a family. $500 can feed a woman for 2 months at our downtown site. So those are some examples. $1,000 can provide a field trip for 60 of our kids at Emma's place. So I just think that really helps people kind of know where their money is going and just feel a little bit more connected to it as well. So, and then on our volunteer page, we also have, examples of different ways that people can get involved. So this coming Saturday, we actually have a playground build that's happening at our Emma's Place site. So we're putting in two new playgrounds. And when Nick was talking a little bit about how important your website is and reaching out to people. So by having this new website and really having a really robust social media campaign, we've, probably, I think 4 new donors are going to be coming to our playground build because, they found us online and then they got our social media, our call to action that we need volunteers. And now they're coming, and not only have they donated or given through a virtual event, now they're coming and they're really going to be able to see sort of their donations in action and be a part of this playground build. So I think kind of weaving all those strategies are really important. And COVID has been obviously challenging with volunteers, but we've found ways that we can have people, put together welcome baskets and drop that off, and we still have that kind of interaction, even though they're not on site with our residents too. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I know that the metrics too for the new site were pretty good. It's really helped, and I know it was very much the build of the site. Took it into account things like what we all talked about, the uniqueness of the organization, showing your impact, and all those types of things we just discussed. The content on the website for sure does all that, and I know has gotten some pretty good results for that. So that's great.
Yeah, I can even say like a story when you were talking just about visibility too. So we had probably, I think we've had about 100 new donors over the last year. And that's really, I credit the website a lot for that, for people going. And I have a story of so there was a kind of a wealthy donor who wanted all of his children to really take on the legacy of giving. And, so he's from Texas, but one of his sons lives in Minnesota. And so he and his girlfriend they really wanted to give back to homelessness and women who are experiencing mental health. Googled us, found us, loved our website. So they donated to us. And then the father reached out to us because he was coming here for a visit. And we were able to, have an actual visit at our family site so they could see where their dollars were going. And so, it's just amazing. Like, so even though it was a gift, that the millennials probably wouldn't have been as big of a gift, just sort of that connection of having our website. And I asked her, I was like, so how did you find out about us? Oh, I just Googled you. And so like, I promise you our old website would not have gotten that gift, right? So that, just those, then there's probably like 4 or 5 other where we've gotten some of these new significant donations from people finding us online.